Welcome to our Thursday night Q&A. This is week 90, and we are going to be looking at the book discussion, A Message to Garcia by Elbert Hubbard tonight. So that will be super fun. It's one of my favorite books, obviously, or I wouldn't have chosen it. Okay, these are the 9 ways I help people to grow the best food in the world, the most nutrient-dense food and abundant food so that we have plenty of health in our bodies. Let's see how fast I can say this. All right, somebody set a timer. Number 1, YouTube channel. Number 2, weekly Q&A. Number 3, Patreon. Number 4, I am a laboratory to do soil tests. Number 5, Georgic Schoolroom. Number 6, 3-day boot camp. Number 7, I am available for consulting. Number 8, Worry-Free Eating is a book I wrote. And 9 is newsletter. Go to my website, www.georgicrevolution.com. Time! Okay, spring boot camp is coming up. We are taking people for this class right now. Now's the time to sign up. This is April 25, 26, 27 here on the Sorensen Ranch in northern Nevada in Clover Valley. And we will be learning how to grow food so that you can have the most fantastic garden of your entire life this year. All the details for this are on my website. The summer class is coming up, May 20th through September 14th. We are still taking applications. We're going to have a fantastic class this summer. We have quite a few students signed up already, and we have room for more. So let your communities know about this. We will be learning the fun things of soil health, personal communication, how to chase down a sheep and catch it. Oh, life's too short not to have a little fun. Okay, here we go. Geo means earth. Aragon means work. When you put them together, Virgil said Georgic, didn't he? Yeah, he invented the word. But people had been writing about it for 700 years before that. The point of this slide is to look and see what our book is for next week so we can be prepared. This week is A Message to Garcia. So next week is Jared Sorensen's book. He's actually the owner of the ranch where we do our Georgic schoolroom here. And the title of that book is Searching for Home, Finding Grace. It's a fantastic book. I read that book when it was in publication process, and I helped him to edit it. So that was a super fun thing that we did together. And so that was pretty fun. And then I wrote the foreword for it and all that stuff. So that was a fun thing. But anyway, we're going to be enjoying that book next week. This one is not on Audible, not yet. So you need to get the book and actually read the hard copy if you want to read it, or you can just come to the book discussion. So let's start our book discussion at this moment. A Message to Garcia. It's a very short book, and I listen to my books on Audible, most of them, if they're published on Audible, and then I put it on double speed while I'm working. So I listened to this book about 5 times this week. And then I listened to 3 other books, or 4. I listened to Holistic Management by Alan Savory. I listened to Countdown twice. I forgot the author. That's an interesting book. Countdown's pretty interesting. It's about toxins in our world and how it's people are struggling to have kids because of a lot of the toxins, because our bodies are unhealthy nowadays. And so she just did a lot of research on that. So that was an interesting book. And then I listened to a couple other books, but I don't know what they are. Anyway, tonight is about A Message to Garcia. Why did I choose this book in a gardening question and answer? That's a good question. I think that no matter what we do in life, we need to be heroes, kind of like Rowan was. He just went and he did the thing. So the author was he said that they were having an argument over teacups on who was the real hero, and one of his kids said it's Rowan who did it because he just went and did it. He did the super hard thing, risking his life. And so I think that was pretty funny because, I mean, they're like arguing at dinner time. And he included that in the book. But I think that's fantastic. I think that's what creates a culture, is when people interact. So that was just a tiny detail in the book that I really, really loved. Families who interact and talk about things and discuss what they're reading and discuss history and discuss current events, those are the things that create a pretty fantastic world. So I just thought I'd point that out, even though it had little to do with the story. Anyway, what did you guys think of this book? I have like 5 slides on this, but I'm going to stop my screen share and we can come back to it if you want to in a minute. You can just yell at me. So what did you guys think? What were your thoughts about this? Did anybody read this book and like it or hate it or think something was fantastic? I kind of think that the last part of it, the prayer was pretty neat. If it was like what, 2 minutes long, maybe 4 minutes. I loved that part. I think that should be our rules for the Georgic schoolroom. Okay, unmute and tell me your thoughts. Someone be shy. Anyone?
Here, I'll talk. Not gonna lie, I just got off of a shift and did not actually end up. I have not read the book, so it's kind of strange for me to start talking.
Nice.
But
Thank you, Murray. Let's go.
that the book ended with, did you say a prayer?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
pretty cool.
That's interesting. And well, now I'm, obviously I gotta read the book now. But
Yeah.
all I'm building off of right now is that it ended with a prayer. But I think that there's something very important about just keeping God, communication with God throughout everything, and to end a book with a prayer is really great. It sets the intention in a very, and basically the biggest way you can. It connects with everything, and I'd love to read more books that end with prayers.
You know what? You inspired me. Thanks, Maury. I'm glad you spoke up. I'm gonna write a book and I'm gonna start it with a prayer and end it with a prayer. Published right there, man. First and last chapter. In fact, I'm gonna write that down. Hold on. When important things happen, you take notes. Here we go. Okay, who wants to go next? Go ahead and unmute while I'm taking notes.
Well, I really enjoyed the book last summer when I read it. I wanted to read it again to prep for the class, but I didn't get to it. But I wanted to ask because I heard you talk to Will, a previous student, and also just when you talk about the book about how it's just such a good book about becoming a man and what that means. And I wanted to ask you to speak more to that because I think I could probably guess and like piece together based off of reading the book what I think you mean, but I would like to understand it better. And so maybe for those who haven't read the book, if you want to give a little bit of it's this.
Okay.
Taste it, but maybe if you could give a little bit of a summary, but I would love for you to talk about that and maybe that's on your notes but yeah, that's what I want to talk about.
Okay, so I don't remember that conversation, but I am going to talk for a second. So Will was one of our students here at the Georgic schoolroom last year. And he asked me one day, I think it was in class, but we talked about it outside of class quite a few times. So I don't know when the first time he brought it up, but he said, I want to learn how to be a man. This guy's, he was pretty young. He's 17 when he was here. And he said, and so that was his question. How do I become a man? And I said, well, there's some books you need to read. And so, but I don't remember exactly if I had said something that Abby's talking about that was specific to that. But I think everybody needs, like everybody, all humans should read this book. It should be required reading before you turn 15, probably. 10-year-olds should read this book. Parents should understand this book. And it takes like 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes, man. Like 20 minutes. You could listen to this book every morning when you're having your shower and eating breakfast. It's required reading for everybody, for the United States military. I don't know what branch, but there's a couple of branches of military. It's required reading for them, which is pretty awesome. Starla, do you have any comments tonight?
Well, I did listen to it. It was interesting. I don't feel like I got very much from it, but it's because I've been focusing on a lot of other things. So, but yeah, it was interesting.
All right, great, cool. Brenly.
Yes, I read the book, and I really liked it. I think some of the things that stood out to me, for some reason, one of my favorite parts was when he gave this scenario of how if a manager or something asked any employee in his office to do even just a simple request, how many would go off and do it without question, without hesitation, without complaint? And then he said, I would bet probably not really any of them. I was like, that's actually really sad. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, that's true. We are quick to, I don't know, to push back and to want to know the reasons behind everything. So I really like that his message was just focused on, doing things without question, figuring out on our own, without complaint, just being grateful and joyful. And like you were talking about the prayer at the end, radiant. I liked that message too. So it really did make me think about or question how I'm acting in every situation and the words that I'm speaking. And yeah, some things are a lot better than just simply being book smart, I guess. So I really liked the book.
All right, thank you, Brenly. Awesome. Aaron, did you have any comments about the book tonight?
I'm sorry to say I haven't read it, but I am reading about it, and it sounds really interesting. I wonder, so is this the reason that a message to Garcia is like now a thing, like is carrying an important message? That's that. I'm reading Little Men right now for Georgix.
Yeah, nice.
I'm going to Georgix Lemmy training in May, I think. June, I don't know, whenever it is in St. George.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Perfect.
Yeah. And this is very interesting, very very instructive. I'm learning a lot about myself and people and Georgix.
Yeah, perfect. I'm going to stop my screen share for a second. How do I stop my screen share? I don't know how to do that. Oh. Ha! Look at that. It's the same button I always push. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to share a bunch of stuff about this book and why I love it so much and why it's in a gardening class. Why it's on our Q&A. You know what? Okay, so here's the premise of the book. The war breaks out. President of the United States, McKinley, needs to get a message to Garcia, who's a general of the military, because bad things are happening. It's always bad when there's a war. We have to protect ourselves. We have to protect others. We need to protect whatever happens in wars, right? Maybe we need to do something. We need to mobilize. There's lots of things that need to happen, and it needs to happen now. General Garcia is in Cuba. Nobody knows where. He's just in Cuba. And so President McKinley's like, we got to get this message to him. How do we do it? And somebody said, if anybody can get the message, it's a man named Rowan. And so McKinley's like, well, then get me Rowan right now. Rowan shows up, and and President McKinley hands him a letter, says, get this to General Garcia. Rowan says, thanks, takes off. What did Rowan agree to? He agreed to risk his life. He agreed to death, because that's what soldiers do. He agrees to no food for a month. He agrees to crossing the dangerous waters. His boat could flip and capsize. I was intrigued by this story, so I did more research on it, like years ago when I first discovered this. So this is a little rusty, but from my memory of years ago studying this, he gets in this boat and he has to hide in the cargo, like in the bottom of the boat. And there's people, and the normal people are just taking the boat, and the people there know he's there. So he not only is he risking his own life, he's risking the life of these random whoever they were. I don't know if they were fishermen or what. He's risking their life too, because if he gets caught, they might kill him all. Well, so he gets to Cuba, and he gets on there, and he just takes off through the jungle, and he doesn't know where the General Garcia is. But he's a special forces guy. He's been trained. He's learned some skills. He's a pretty good soldier. He knows wilderness survival. He understands what he knows. He knows his gifts. He knows his talents. He's skilled. He probably has a pretty good communication with the heavens, just guessing. I've known soldiers in my life, modern day ones that are alive today. 100% of them can communicate with the heavens when they need to, which is interesting, because what is a soldier trained to do? They're trained to kill people, and they're trained to destroy property. Both of those things are against the commandments when you read the Bible. But yet those are some of the most peaceful people, and they're some of the people who can just take their hand and stick it through the veil of heaven and grab the cloak of the Savior and have a conversation. So that's an interesting conundrum, and we can discuss that later, because we don't have time to go into that tonight. But anyway, so this is Rowan. When I think of Rowan, this is what I'm thinking about. So here's this Rowan guy. He takes this letter, and he doesn't do what the weakness of humanity does, which, what would that be? He didn't say, well, where's Garcia? He didn't say, who's Garcia? He didn't complain about it. He doesn't say, no, I'm not going to do that. He doesn't say, oh, I might get killed, it's too dangerous. He doesn't say, what if the boat flips over, then what do I do? He doesn't make a bunch of stupid excuses. He takes the message from the President of the United States, and he does the most dangerous thing. He goes to this hostile place, and he delivers the letter. 3 weeks after landing on one side of the island, he appears on the other side of the island, where a boat picks him up and brings him back. So that's pretty cool. So my question is, what can we do in our own personal lives to make the world a better place? Because my argument is that Rowan did that. Rowan was the hero. All right? So we need to ask ourselves. So you could do this in a mirror. If you have a mirror right now, look in it. Hey, you turn your cameras on and look at yourself. That's how you can see yourself. Look in the mirror right now. Look in your camera and ask yourself, and you don't have to say it out loud, but I guess you can if you want. Say, what am I good at? And then we continue that question. What are we doing to strengthen our own abilities in this life? What are we doing to make our families better? What are we doing to serve our neighbors? What are we doing to make the yard better, the car better, the house better? Are we doing the little things that make life better? Are we honing our skills? Because the fact is, every individual on this earth is needed. In fact, there's not enough people. We've been told a lie for a long time, which has nothing to do with this book, except it may have a lot to do with it. But anyway, we've been told a lie that there's too many people on the earth. There's too many people. There's too many people. There's too many people. The population is too high. I think that more people need to be having bigger families. I think there needs to be more people, because then we have more talent. We need smarter people than we have. And how do we get that? I'm not saying people are dumb. I'm saying we need more numbers of people so we have more talent. All right? And the young people need to know that you are needed. We need to stop telling the youth of this world that, oh, it's your fault because, the population's too high. When young people hear, oh, there's too many people on the earth, young kids sometimes internalize that and think, oh, I'm the problem because I was born. And that is a lie. Okay. So I think this is an important thing that the book brings out. And we can look in the camera again and we can ask ourselves, what bad things have happened to me in my life that made me question my purpose, my life, my reason for being? And the book addresses this in kind of a weird way. But have people been unfair to you? Yes, they have. And if they haven't, you're a child and you haven't lived long enough. But what did you do about it when people were unfair? Did you take the letter to Garcia? Did you become the Rowan and just do the job that needed to be done? Even when you were sick, even when it was painful, even when you didn't feel like it, even when it was risking your life? Fairness has nothing to do with anything. Fairness is an excuse that weak people use. And I don't mean to be a jerk for somebody who something really unfortunate has happened. That's not what I'm saying here at all. But have you been accused wrongfully? The answer is yes. And if it's truly no, you haven't lived long enough, but you will be at some point. Well, what did you do about it? Did you take the letter to Garcia? Did you take that message? Did you become the Rowan? That's the point of this book. Have you been abused? What did you do about it? And I'm not saying that abuse is okay. It's not. It's terrible when one human abuses another, and some people have been abused in horrible ways, and I'm not making excuses for that. But if a human has been abused, what did you do about it? Are you still loving other people? Are you still serving other people? Are you forgiving people? Are you taking that letter? Are you doing the hard thing? And, I've opened a can of worms here. There's like 40 subjects we need to clear up now, or else I'll be causing secondary trauma to people. So hopefully that's not happening. But anyway, my point is, and I think the book brings it out really clearly, bad things happen to everybody, all right? But we need to be like Rowan, and we need to be trained. We need to answer the question when we look in the mirror, what are you good at? What are your abilities? And then hone those abilities, make something of your life, develop some skills, become something great, learn something so you can help others. And that makes the world a better place, irrelevant of the bad things that happen to us. So these are some themes I saw in the book that I thought was pretty great. There were some other themes that I put down here. We get what we fix our hearts on. If we really are passionate about something and we kind of go in with both feet and we make things happen and our hearts are just like in that place, those are the things that we tend to get out of life. And so we have great setbacks also along that journey. But if we really want something, we need to put our heart on it, and that's what we get. If we want a great life, then cultivate a good attitude and inhale the fresh air. It was interesting, several places in this book, I think twice he talked about nature. And I think that's really important. And that's one thing we do here at the Georgic Schoolroom is we spend a lot of time in nature, because when we're in nature, we discover ourselves. And when we discover ourselves, it's easy to serve other people. If you are really frightened with social anxiety, and what you need to do is to discover yourself in nature, that anxiety tends to align itself. And then when you're going to go into public, you still have the anxiety, but something about it makes it bearable. And then when it's over, you're like, oh yeah, I could do that again. It tends to heal us. I don't know how it does it, but it does. And it was neat in this book that he brought that out. I mean, Richard Louv writes about this all the time, and he's written 5 or 6 books. Vitamin N was one of his most recent ones. He's the guy who coined the phrase nature deficit disorder, if you've ever heard that. How we need to be in nature. The ability to do things is rare in this world, but it's a rarer thing to recognize ability. We don't always recognize the abilities in others, and that's something that we really need to do. And the book brought that out, and I thought, man, that's powerful. Okay, there were some other themes. The idea of pity, sympathy, poise, to conserve, to have knowledge, and to gain knowledge. The spirit of controlling the spirit controls the flesh, and then the heart controls the attitude. That's an interesting thought that he brought out. Our spirit is controlling our flesh, or the spirit controls the body. So just a personal story about this. A year ago, February, so it's been what? March is almost over, so it's been almost 14 months ago. I decided to do some psychological thing where I would train my body like a dog, because I'm kind of an old dog, you know. And so I thought, what if my body is in control and I'm just doing things out of habit? I'm going to do something totally different. And so I'm just going to do this test and see if I can train my body so that I'm in charge of my body and my body is not in charge of me. And so I stopped eating sugar because I had heard that sugar was the most addictive substance. I've read that in books. And then my wife does work, some counseling work. She does some psychology stuff. And she had worked with some people who had been addicted to some pretty hard street drugs, methamphetamines and other street drugs. And they had got over these drug problems, these issues that they've had. And they said, we were able to get over like 8 or 9 different, just really hard narcotics, awful drugs, but they still couldn't kick the sugar problem. And so she asked them one day, she said, do you really think that sugar's the worst thing, the hardest addiction? And they said, oh, by far. I gave up cigarettes, I gave up this and that and the other. I'm not going to name all the drugs, but it was just interesting that has been verified in personal communication with people that my wife has known. So that inspired me last year, and I thought, I like sugar, man. I like cookies. There's a lot of things that are sugary. I like them, right? They're fun. And I thought, maybe I will just, since it's the most addictive thing, then I'll be able to see if I can train this dog, me being my body. And so I stopped eating sugar in February, and the cravings were pretty miserable for 3 months. I've finally gotten over the cravings now. It took almost a year. Like 2 months ago, I was still having cravings now and then. But I made a switch at the beginning of, like the end of February, beginning of March. And so in March, I switched something else. But I'm not going to go into that. But the cravings went away after that point, which is pretty awesome. And no, I didn't switch back to sugar because that would probably make the cravings go away if you just eat sugar. So I didn't do that. But the idea that he brings out of our spirit controlling the flesh, I thought that was beautiful. And then the heart controlling our attitude. So I've been pondering that. What does it mean for the heart to control the attitude? Because I think in the last year I've been able to control my body. It was hard at times. In fact, it was funny because I had these oatmeal cookies. I got them for Christmas, but I hadn't opened the package. I love them. There's just those cheap, nasty, hard cracker oatmeal cookies from the store. If you bite them, they break your teeth, but when you dip them in milk, they're, ooh, yeah, I like them. I'm almost starting to get a craving again thinking about it. But anyway, those oatmeal cookies, I had a package, and I sat them on the shelf because everybody says, remove all sugar from your house if you're going to do this. Well, I thought, well, it's not about not eating sugar for me. That's not the point. The point is to train the dog. It's a psychological thing. And so I put the oatmeal cookies on the counter where I'd see them 20 times a day or whatever. And so every time I'd see those, I would salivate and I would want to open that package and eat them. And so here's what I'd do. I would say, no, boy, no, sit. Just like you'd say to a dog. And I'd point at the cookies, but I imagined a reflection coming back at me, right? So I did. I feel like I did in a very small way, trained the flesh, trained my body. But how in the world do I train my attitude? The heart training the attitude. I haven't figured that one out yet, so I'm going to listen to Garcia several more times here. And I need to study other stuff too. So if anybody has ideas about what that means. But that was a huge part of this for me. Yeah, anyway, I've spent a long time on this. I'm going to go to the next slide. This was the very last chapter. And Mari Brett brought this up a little bit about how it's interesting that he prayed. He said something like, I would pray to be cheerful and radiant and have calmness and goodwill, ready to say, I don't know if it be so. And that's the number one rule when you get here the first day of class in the Georgic schoolroom this summer, for those of you who are coming. That's when we do have a few weird rules around here just for safety. But the number one big rule that I really enforce is if you don't know, then don't pretend to know something. That's the one big rule. The other big rule, there's actually two of them. The other one is you can't have negative self-talk. If you say something bad about yourself, I stop you and say, stop it, which is funny because Becca has to do that to me all the time when we're not in school. I struggle with negative self-talk. But he prayed that he would want to inspire people with inference, example, and suggestion. Inference is not a real common word. I'll tell you what it means. It means that you have evidence-based information. So you just have information. It's not your opinion, but there's actually evidence for it. So that's what inference is. So he would pray to inspire others with inference, example, and suggestion. And with a lot of these things, he had the opposite thing of what he wouldn't do. And I didn't put them on this slide, but you can go listen to the book. But it's interesting because when you compare the things that he prayed to be in the book compared to the things that he wished he wouldn't be, that he prayed he wouldn't be, it reminded me of a lot of young people. I mean, when I was young, why did my peers rebel against their parents? Why is it that in all the reading that we do, like we can read back 3,000 years of history. So in all literature, it's a theme in all literature that young people rebel. Why is that? And he brings it out really good in the book. And it's in this prayer. And it's because people, and so I'm going to call out parents, and this is terrible. I hate to be a jerk, but it's just an observation. I'm just making an observation. It's this inference thing. So if I can be a jerk with love, that's what I'm going to try to be, is just have love here. But I've just noticed throughout life that when people rebel, when young people rebel against their parents, it's because the parents are doing the things that he prays not to be in this book. And they're not doing the things that he prays to be. The parents are like, they're not as cheerful as they ought to be. I see a lot of grouchy parents. I always have, and it's sad. I see a lot of parents that are not very radiant. I had a friend, he was my age, and he's in the prison right now, and he's been in and out of prison, and he was very rebellious, and his dad was the opposite of all these things, and his mom was not in his life. She left because his dad was abusive, but his dad got the kids, which was weird. And they lived like 5 houses down the street. And anyway, his dad was none of these things, and he was all the bad things. And I don't know, you know, that kid needed to rebel against his dad and do the good things, but he became more like his dad. It's a sad thing. Anyway, these are the things that I got out of a message to Garcia. You know, we could probably build an entire semester just on this book, but we're not gonna. Somebody should, but it's not my calling in life. It's just a fun thing to discuss. So I'm gonna stop my share real quick. Does anybody else have anything to say about a message to Garcia before we open this up to gardening Q&A?
I really liked when you said, just really quick, when you were talking about the spirit and the flesh, and then you talked about the heart and the attitude. It made me think that, you know, is it a scripture or a saying? I don't know, like where someone's heart is, there will he be also, or something like that. And so I think when we treasure something in our heart, we like it, that manifests in our actions and our attitudes, like what we really want and the needs that we have and recognize in our life. So that just made me think of that, like maybe the way that the heart can control our attitudes is when we really figure out what we want, who we are, and what we want to work on, like a goal or like a mission in life. Then that can help to cultivate an attitude of vision or like destination or like intention. So I thought that was cool.
Nice. Thank you, Abigail. Okay, anybody else have any thoughts? Becca.
Hi. My question is how to raise kids who can take a message to Garcia.
Well, we have to at least read the book. That's helpful. Let me turn off my book. Hold on. I hit my phone and it started playing. Sorry about that. How do you raise kids who can take a message to Garcia? Who has 3 hours to stay on tonight to discuss this? What a fantastic question. I'm glad you asked. What do you guys think? Answer Becca's question. I mean, I could talk for 5 hours about that, but I'm not gonna. Brindley.
I don't have kids, but one of my favorite lines in the book was like at the very end when he talked about how to act in absolute freedom and at the same time know that responsibility is the price of freedom. It more or less equals salvation, something along those lines. And so I think to instill responsibility in kids is a big thing, especially in the world that we live in. I feel like kids nowadays have very little responsibility, so they can get away with a lot. And so I think if we can teach responsibility and this good work ethic and I don't know, get rid of those average man qualities that he was talking about in his book of inattention and unwillingness, and create this sincerity in kids nowadays but I don't have kids, so I feel like a hypocrite speaking.
I like that, Brindley. I think that's a good point of work ethic and knowing how to work hard. Because someone who's lazy and doesn't know the value of work in and of itself and like the value of work in and of itself, but also to do things and create something that's valuable and do things that are valuable. Someone who doesn't know that isn't isn't the kind of person who can take a message to Garcia because they don't, maybe they don't care very much, or they don't know how to work for something that they want.
Is it a good spot to say something? Guys, try to be quiet just a little bit. I would say become the person that you want your children to become, because they will follow example. I mean, like from like, I don't know about following example in the womb, but like they start to hear you in the womb, and like that's where they learn language, and like they like their muscles develop like in their ear, like you learn how to hear your language, and then become unable to hear other like nuances in other languages, and like that's where you learn how to speak, and that's where you learn how to act, that's where you learn how to treat others, that's where you learn how to work. Like if your parents don't have a good work ethic, then you're gonna have a really hard time developing one. Like I heard someone talking about in their marriage, and it might even be before they got married, they decided that they would clear and clean the table and wash the dishes every night, and they just did it from when they were. Can you move, please? She's having a hard time. So then, like, they just had that habit, and as we develop habits, then we can lean on them for strength. Like when we're feeling like I don't want to brush my teeth, but I just brush my teeth and read my scriptures and say my prayer and go to bed. Like those habits sustain us, and then our children will see those habits. Like in the women's conference that was just recent, they talked about that little girl that woke up from her nap, and her brother brought her stuffed animal after stuffed animal after stuffed animal, and she was just not happy. And then he finally brought her a Book of Mormon, and she was happy because she always saw her mom reading the Book of Mormon, and so she's just like, I love the Book of Mormon, and it brings me comfort. Anyway, children follow example. Like William has worker children, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my kids do have a good work ethic. Yeah. Okay, what other thoughts? Becca, it's probably the greatest question I've heard in the last 6 months. How can we raise children who can take a message to Garcia?
And you guys have a leg up. I wish I would have thought of that question 20 years ago before I had children.
Aaron, thank you. I love that. The example is probably the main thing. Here's the thing, though. I've known people. I mean, so I homeschooled my kids all the way. I mean, they're all adults now. The youngest is 19. And so all the way through that, for the last 25, 26, 30 years, really, we've been having conversations about how to raise kids and what the best way is to raise kids. And the fact is, parents don't know. When you're raising your kids, you really don't know. But there's been
every child is different. Every child throws something new at you every day, or every 6 months, or every just keep it coming, keep it rolling.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just a daily thing, I mean, you say that I have worker kids. It's true. I'm gonna move my camera so you can see this. My second boy, his name's Ephraim. We're sitting around one day, and I said, we're just sitting around talking. We're on the couches in the house talking. And I said, okay, it's time to go. And it was some job on the farm. It's time to go do this. And he goes, and he got mad. He's like 9 years old. He gets mad and he goes, this is exactly what he did. All we do is work, work, work. Isn't there anything else besides work, work, work? So that was pretty funny. And I started laughing. It was hilarious. And that made him more mad. And I thought, you know what? This is one of those moments in life. This is a pivotal moment. I can be, because I'm bigger, I'm meaner, I'm stronger. I can wrestle an 8, 9-year-old, however old he was. I can force him to go out and work. I can cause this big thing, a fight, an argument, whatever you want to call it, a debate. I'm gonna win because I'm the dad. And I knew this in an instant, and I thought, okay, this is a pivotal moment for this child. And the older kid, Zeke, his older brother, Ezekiel's sitting there, and he starts laughing. He saw the humor in it because that's the way Ezekiel is. And Enoch's sitting there, and he's just looking around, seeing how this is going to unfold because he's the one who analyzes everything. And Esther, she was just this little girl, and she's just sitting there. I don't really remember her response. But at this point, her being 19, if she was here, I wish she was on tonight. She's not on tonight, but if she was on tonight, she could probably give us some insights of this because she was very observant throughout this whole family growing up. And so I didn't get up. We didn't go outside, but I didn't know what to do. Parents don't know what to do when this stuff happens. But when you know that there's a pivotal moment, that's when you train the Rowan who will take the message, or you destroy that person and they become rebellious and they don't do the things that you want, and they go find their own way in life, which isn't a bad thing to find your own way unless it hurts them personally. And that's what I mean kind of by rebellion. Some rebellion could be great, but as long as it's good for you, you know. But so how do we raise the kids? I don't know. But when you I thought of that experience when you asked the question, Becca. And then as Erin was talking about it, it's just, we don't know. We can't prepare to be perfect parents, but we can be prepared to listen. We got to listen to our gut. We've got to listen to inspiration from heaven. And when those moments come and a child needs us in that moment, then we are there for that child 198%. At all cost. It doesn't matter. A parent's job is to be selfless. If it hurts us as a parent, that's what we signed up for. That's why we are a parent. We don't stay safe. We don't stay comfortable. We don't choose to have needs. We parent, and we give those kids whatever it was that needed to be done on the farm was really important. It needed to be done. It was a chore that really did need to be done. That's why we were going to get up and go do it. But we didn't. We sat there for an hour and we talked. And I let Ephraim express himself. I let the other kids talk. Enoch he's usually pretty quiet, but he spoke up in that conversation. I don't really remember what he said, but I remember thinking, it's probably 40 minutes into the conversation, and Enoch pipes up and he opens up, which he normally doesn't do. I mean, he would have been like 7 at that point in life, and he was a very quiet child. But he opened up, man, and he was speaking from the heart. And he was saying, well, if this and that, then what about this? And I mean, he's thinking this thing through. And at that point, I thought, okay, I'm doing this for Ephraim because Ephraim needed this, but this has turned into something to be very beneficial for everybody in the family. And so I just led a discussion. And a couple of times during the discussion, a couple of things made me mad. Guess what I didn't do? I didn't show my mad. Because as a dad with little kids, when you show you're mad, your kids shut down. If you want your kids to be trained to be the Rowan, then you let them be themselves. You let them blossom. And if it looks like this, work, 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 you don't spank that child. That's the greatest thing that you can have. I had done something right as a parent that child felt like he could show some anger and some emotion. One of the real problems that we're doing to the generations today was it was what I don't know how to say it. I'm going to say prophesied, predicted. I don't know what the right word is, but it was told by C.S. Lewis. He said, because of our modern education system, we're going to create men without chests, men who won't fight back when something's wrong, men who won't stand up for what is right. And now we have a society that is that way. I mean, what he said would come to pass came to pass. We're living in it now. And so, I mean, go back and read that article if you want to. It's pretty great. C.S. Lewis, it's called The Abolition of Man. It's a pretty short paper. It's pretty easy to read. Well, it's C.S. Lewis, so I don't know if it's easy to read, but it's fun to read and it's easy to listen to. You just listen 20 times and finally it gets through your head. So, you know, when your kids do something that frustrates you, that hurts you, that worries you, that scares you really bad, maybe you have done something really correct, because maybe they feel safe enough in your presence to express that. So remember that. Those are the things that I think about that they're probably politically incorrect in today's world. They're probably not if you watch these crazy reality TV shows where people teach other people, like counselors go in and teach people how to parent, it's probably backwards. I don't know, because I don't watch that stuff, so I don't even know. But
Sorry.
Aaron, did you have something to say?
Yeah. Oh dear. No, the children are back. They're fighting. My toddlers are fighting. They didn't go to bed. I was at a mother's conference, so we talked about developing your career as a mother. And one of the things we talked about was being a safe place to fall apart. Like this one mother talked about her kids were at daycare. Now they're at daycare all day or whatever. She's a single mom anyway, whatever. And she goes picks them up, and the care provider is just like, they've been wonderful, and they play together and they cooperate and they obey, and she gets home and they just fall apart. They don't listen to her and they fight with each other and they're just whatever. And a friend observed to her, you are the safe place. You are the place that they can do that and know that they're still loved.
Yeah. So these are weird things, I mean, they're true. They're weird thing. The reason it's weird is because it almost seems like it should be something that you punish your kids for. But I think that's backwards. So I don't know. Let me be super vulnerable for a minute, because Becca asked. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I think on our discussions we probably hit like on importance the most important would be a 10. We've probably approached some 4s and 5s in this discussion. I think Becca's question tonight is probably a 9.5 or a 10. It may be the most important question we've had so far in all 90 of these free things I do on Thursday nights. How do we raise kids to take a message to Garcia? How do we raise a kid to be a Rowan? I mean, who is Rowan? Maybe we all, in our private moments, maybe we should go look up Rowan and study that guy. Maybe we'll find out he's a total scoundrel. Except guess what? let's not judge people harshly. He's the one who got the message to the general. Maybe it takes that kind of person. Who are we to judge anybody? I mean, really, think about it. So let me be super vulnerable for a moment with that little bit of background about why I'm being vulnerable. It's because this is the most important question I've had so far. So I've got 4 kids. Let me think about them. If they were asked to do something like that, could they do that? So I'm thinking of my 4 kids. This is awful to do this publicly. They should be on tonight. So I'm thinking of them, and I'm going through them in my mind one at a time. I'm not going to single them out and make this a public embarrassing thing, but I would say that they all have had some super hard things that they have done in their lives already. I would say they certainly give them a few more years and they probably could do that. I'm not sure that, I mean, they don't have the skills. They haven't been trained in the special forces. They don't know how to do guerrilla warfare and all that stuff. But could they do something on that level? A couple of my kids already have. And I don't know why. It's not because I'm a great parent. I will give you one more hint though. If it's popular to do in today's world with your kids, probably don't do it. It's probably not the way to parent your kids. You know.
Amen.
Thanks, Sarah. I just kind of think that, you know. Yeah, that's a good one. We need to write a book called How to Raise Rowan. Writing that down. Maybe that's the book I'll write that starts and ends with a prayer. How to raise. If it's important enough to remember, it's important enough to take time to write it down. Look at my pencil, it's huge. Okay, gardening questions. If you have a gardening question, we're opening it up to garden questions right now. By the way, yeah, go ahead and ask your question. If you have one, just talk over me and I'll quit talking. But by the way, discussions like this is what creates a human being instead of an animal. And human beings grow the best food. And human beings know how to grow the most nutritious food, so we don't have to eat as much food. And then there's more food to feed more people. So that's why we read classics, because it is a gardening skill, it is a farming skill, it is an agricultural skill. That's how we grow the very best food, is by becoming more human. Because if we're just running around and we never read, we never write. By the way, reading and writing, according to Mortimer J. Adler, those are the 2 things that make people human and not animals. A dog doesn't read and write, but it can cuddle, it can show love, it can do a lot of neat things. Horses are extremely smart. Dogs can learn all kinds of words. Horses can learn about 5 words. I think dogs, I wish Zeke was on, he'd know exactly how many words a dog knows. Like a dog they can't speak, but they can learn a vocabulary of like 100 words or something. I don't know. I made that 100 up. But so there's a lot of animals that can do a lot of things that seem very human-like. Like dolphins are extremely smart. Pigs are super smart. You can train pigs easier than a dog sometimes. Cattle are pretty smart. You can train oxen to walk in a certain pattern and they'll do it over and over and do all kinds of work for you. So animals are very, very smart, but the thing that makes a human different is that we can read and write. And the more we read and the more we write, the more human we become. And I think that our book brings that out. So the more that we read and learn human nature, the more human nature is unveiled, or another way of saying that is the more we understand about human nature, then the better we are at being healthy, the better we are at creating food, the better we are at being creative to know how to grow more food. I'm a food guy. I like food. Man, I've been having a good week. We planted so much stuff. Nobody's unmuted. We have a participant named Jeff here. If you have a garden question, just unmute and ask it. That's how this works. And everybody else, you're our regulars, so you know. So anyway, today I transplanted like 12 trays of cabbages, broccolis, cauliflowers, and Brussels sprouts. And a bunch of those are for you guys to put in your garden. So when you get here, you're going to have a bunch of transplants ready to go in. So that'll be fun. So you can just kind of go through what I have and pick and choose and this and that. And then I put in an irrigation system in the greenhouse today. I mean, at least I started on it. We do some hand watering now and then, but I was putting in some pipes so that there's more automatic stuff. I was building a huge compost pile. Today's been a good day. Yesterday was a perfect day. I was outside all day long. My back hurt yesterday when I was sleeping, which means I did something instead of sitting on the couch. So that's good. I'm a couch potato in the winter, but now that spring's here, I'm out working all day. It's super fun. Okay, we are going to end this for tonight unless I'm going to give you like the 30-second thing where I don't say anything and you guys can talk. Erin, go ahead.
So just really super clueless question. I'm the person who probably knows the least of anybody that you've ever talked to. How do I start gardening? Like how to just from the beginning?
Yeah.
Like
I'm so glad you asked.
What's a good source to start from? Anyway.
Do you have a copy of my book called Worry Free?
Yes. Yep.
Have you read that book?
I started.
Read it with your kids. Read it to your kids. Go here. Do you know how to read a book? I don't say that in a condescending way at all.
I know.
Have you read Mortimer J. Adler's book called How to Read a Book?
Yes, I think.
It's been a long.
That one where he talks about reading to his daughter, and she makes her dates wait for him, wait so that she can read with her dad before they go on a date.
I mean, it could be. I don't remember that part, but it's been 18 years since I've read it. So
well, come on, you've got to make space. All the things you do, you've got to have time.
Okay, so Mortimer Adler, man, he's one of the greats.
And doesn't he say? I think he says, read multiple books at the same time. You learn more from each than you would reading any of them alone. Multiple books, multiple genres, really mix your brain up. Yeah. Don't do that to kids, though. Let kids do that if they want to as a game. But, but it really should happen later on once a human's brain is fully developed. And psychology is arguing about when that happens. I think it's different for
used to say, or Freud or something. I forgot who it was. But one of those guys said that it was like once you're 22 or 25 or something. I don't have my facts straight, but somewhere in that age range, your brain is fully developed and you really don't learn very much as adults. But that is totally false now. We know that the brain does. We reach a plateau, but we can continue to learn a ton of stuff. But I think that the multiple, and this is just my opinion, I think the multiple genres and multiple titles, like if you're reading 7 or 8 books at a time, it's fantastic. And then you come back to them and over and over and over. Like this winter, last winter I did 23 books. This winter I haven't counted it yet, but I think it's probably more. But anyway, it's been great because you learn so much more. So my goal for this winter, and I am going to answer your question about how to start gardening, but I got to finish the book thing first. My goal for this winter, my subject, every winter I pick a subject to learn. And this winter was human health. my wife has had some sickness, and I wanted to understand human health. And so I started with 5 books that looked like they were pretty smart people. And I read those books. And then I don't read, I listen. And then I would stop the book and I write down. I keep a small pencil in my pocket, a normal sized one in my pocket with a little book. And then when the book's going on and I'm out working on the ranch and stuff, and they say somebody's name, like they say, Dr. So and so said, well, because if you're reading good books, they will have citations of 50 people that said something. And so I'll pull my notebook out and I'll write down the person's name. And then when I'm in the house on the computer, I look up all of those people and see what their contribution to the world was. And so that's how I do this. So I'll go through 5, 10 books, and then I do an in-depth study, and I look up all the scientific articles that all the people that they cited say, and then I just let my interest and intuition or whatever, I just try to learn as much as I can. So that's how I study my subjects. So that's how you could study gardening. So do you have a normal sized pencil or a giant one? I can give you, I'll give you some names right now.
I have an open document.
Oh, there you go. Just type like mad. Here are some names to study. Sir Albert Howard, Weston Price, Jerome Irving Rodale.
Jerome?
Yes.
Irving.
J.I. Rodale.
Oh, J. J-I. How do you spell Rodale?
Rodale.
Oh, okay. Phonetic.
Becca, help. Abigail, help. Who are the great people? You know what? We could do something else. Do you want to just take a screenshot? Here, watch this. I'll bombard.
William DeMille. Should I put William DeMille on there?
Yeah, yeah. He's smart too. How do I? Oh yeah. Watch this. Dun dun dun. Wrong one. Ha! Ha ha ha! Screenshot this page real quick. Whoops, sorry.
How do you do it? How do you do a screenshot?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Okay.
Somebody click. One of you
I'll
young
figure it
people
out.
on here. My computer on the very right side and down to the bottom says print screen button. You might have
Okay.
a button that says
You
print
can
screen.
you can take a picture with your phone. If you take a picture with your phone, you should be able to access all the names.
Ooh.
Yeah, you got a camera. Will that work?
I got it. I got it.
You got a picture?
I got a picture.
Okay, this is not how you start gardening. This is how you polish it once you're done.
Oh, well. Okay.
But anyway, here's how you start gardening. I'm going to answer your question, okay? Here you go.
Okay, so those names that you started giving me, those are all in that screenshot I just took.
No, those are extra ones. There might be one in there.
Okay. So
But those
they're
are fun names. Those are my heroes. Some of those people are dead. Probably half of them are still alive. The ones that are alive are some of the top scientists of the world today. Our students who are coming here for the Georgia School Room, you'll get familiar with a lot of those people this summer. It's great. Okay, Aaron, I'm going to do a 5-minute thing with you. Here we go. Tell me what you eat. What do you eat? Like, don't tell me your diet. Tell me what you want out of your garden. What should you eat? What do you want out of your garden?
Honey, but I'm not ready to do bees.
I love that. Honey was your first thing.
Well, like you were just talking about sugar, and I started not eating sugar when I was pregnant. I had a C-section my first time around, and so then ever after I didn't eat flour or refined sugar when I was pregnant, because they weaken your uterus. But yeah, so
Cool. I didn't know that. I've been studying human health my whole all winter, and I hadn't ran across that.
it's in a book called Powerfully Pregnant, I think is what it's called. It's
All
written by
right.
a midwife, whose father was a rancher and helped animals. Anyway, whatever.
Nice.
And she said her mothers that stayed off of flour and sugar didn't have problems in childbirth. So anyway,
Cool.
and the ones that I did that for, I didn't have problems. Anyway,
All right.
so I would like, oh, good grief, I don't even know. Like,
Okay, let me help you. You say yes or no. This
Okay.
isn't to make you think.
Okay.
So let me switch it around. You just say yes or no. Do you want
Okay.
tomatoes?
No.
Do you want peppers?
Yes.
Do you want eggplants?
I don't know.
That's a no. Do you want cucumbers?
Yes.
Lettuce?
Yes.
Do you want
Squash. I want squash.
squash? Winter
Yeah.
squash?
All varieties. Every squash.
Oh, nice. Do you want apples?
Yes.
You want peas?
Yes.
Garlic?
Yes.
Yeah, it should be a yes. It's one of the most
Okay.
nutritious
Yes.
plants there is. Do you want stinging nettle?
Probably.
How old are your kids?
3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15.
Okay, they're all old enough to know not to touch the stinging nettle. So yeah, you want stinging nettle. You know why?
Because it heals.
It is medicinal, yes, but it's the most nutritious plant to eat.
Oh.
If you could only eat one plant, eat stinging nettle. I've been eating 6 eggs every day, and I've been eating stinging nettle every day with it. Eggs and stinging nettle, man. It actually has good flavor, and
So
it
you say
doesn't sting
tomato
you
is
when
the
you
most
eat it.
nutritious plant to eat?
What's that? Ask that
So
again.
you said stinging nettle is the most nutritious plant you can eat?
Yeah, if you could only eat one plant, stinging nettle's the one.
Okay. So then you boil it?
Yeah, you just cook it.
Okay.
Or you can dehydrate it, and then you can just crush it up on top of your eggs when you cook them. That's
Okay.
what I do. So mine's it's actually raw. The stinging nettle's raw, which may be good or bad. I don't know, because some plants become more nutritious when you cook them. A lot of
Yeah.
people say, "Oh, raw food diets are the best," and then they're not as healthy as they ought to be because they're eating things that need to be cooked to release more nutrients. So it depends on the plant. You have to research each individual plant.
Okay.
Okay, so you said yes to quite a few things. So here's the next step. Write down the things you said yes to, and then that's what you're going to plant in your garden this year. And then you need to get so are you on a farm in a city? What's your living conditions?
We're in Taylorsville. We were on like 0.13 acres.
So you're in a lot in town.
Mhm.
Okay, so what you need to do, the easiest thing to do is to go to Home Depot and you get 20 or 30 bags of potting soil, and then you put down a bunch of cardboard boxes in the middle of your lawn.
Uh-huh.
Just flatten them out on the ground, like four cardboards thick, right? And overlap them a lot, like this. And then put all the potting soil on top, so that you have about 6 or 8 inches of potting soil on top. And then that's your garden. And then you're going to get all those plants you talked about, and you're going to plant them in that potting soil, and you're going to water it with your garden hose, and you're going to go to the store when you get your potting soil. You're going to buy some fish hydrolysate. You'll have to go to Intermountain Farmer to get that, because they don't sell it at Lowe's or Home Depot.
I
People
used to
always
know that.
fish
Hydrolysate.
hydrolysate. Hydrolysate. Hydrolysate. It's fertilizer, but it's a very healthy fertilizer that will be good for you and your plants.
Can I
And
use
you're
that
gonna
on
s-
my, can I use that on my grass? Or
Yeah,
should I use it up on the grass?
yeah, you can use it everywhere.
Okay.
And you're gonna stop putting any chemicals on your grass. You're gonna stop putting weed and feed on, and you're gonna let your dandelions grow. Does that make your eye twitch?
No, because I've heard you say it before.
Oh, good, good, yeah. You're gonna let your dandelions grow, and when the little yellow flowers come out, your 3-year-old and your 5-year-old and your 8-year-old, or I forgot your ages, but they're gonna love picking them. You're gonna go pick all those yellow flowers as they grow, and you're gonna eat them, and you're gonna dry them. You're gonna make tea out of them. And the tea that you make out of them, you can consume yourself, but mainly you're going to use the tea for your garden. So make a tea, like boil the water, pour it over those dandelion flowers. They
Should
can
I
be,
let it cool off first?
yes.
Okay.
If you put boiling water on your plants, it kills them. But you're going to boil the water and make a tea. You're going to steep the tea. You let it cool down to room temperature so it can cool down for 5 hours, whatever. But don't let it sit for more than 24 hours, and then pour it all over your yard and your garden. And it will help it grow like nobody's business.
Okay.
Rudolf Steiner taught us that.
So I should plant dandelions.
Yeah. I hesitate to say that to people, but since you asked, absolutely.
Where do you get dandelion seeds?
Oh, you let a few go to seed in your yard, and you collect the seed, and then you plant them. Or
How
you
long
go
does that?
what?
A couple years. How long does that take? A couple years? Because like we get a couple, but anyway.
Here's what you do.
Okay.
You order some seeds on Amazon so you have a whole bunch, and you plant a couple of plug trays so you have 400 or 500 plants, and you go out there and you plant them everywhere in your lawn. You just
There's
poke holes in
dandelion.
your lawn and you poke them in, and then you tell everybody. You make Facebook posts, you put it on social media, you tell everybody at church, and everybody will think that you need to be committed to the insane asylum. And then when they give you a problem, here's the thing you say. You say, I'm doing it to save us from global warming.
Whatever.
And then you won't have any friends anymore. So don't do that. But it would be fun because you could record the reactions. Okay, I'm having too much fun. I'm sorry for being silly.
Okay.
But no, seriously. Yeah, dandelions are fantastic. The comment about global warming, probably not a good social thing to do. That was a joke.
Well,
But
anybody
anything else
anyway,
was not
yeah.
a joke.
Anybody that believes in global warming, never mind.
I believe in climate change. It's changing all the time.
All the time. Yep.
And I actually believe that humans are
Right.
supposed to change it to make it better. And that's what we never hear.
Yep. I believe that if the world has problems, it's because of our immorality. But anyway,
I agree.
so should I just cover my whole lawn with cardboard, or like should I just cover the parts that I want to garden on, or like
You want a lawn?
my husband wants a lawn?
Yeah, then you need a lawn. So you need
Okay.
to talk to him, and you need to say, hey, how much lawn should we have? Because you love the lawn. So how much should we have? Because I want to put a garden out here, and I want to grow food, and I know how to do it, and it'll be super easy. And I'm going to do it, and you don't even need to help me because I know this really easy way. Because there won't be a lot of manual labor, and he'll be happy about that, probably.
Okay. So just by putting on cardboard, covering it with potting soil and fish hydrolysate, and then just go to town with the
And then just plant your plants in there, yeah.
so just plant my plants in there
Yeah,
with the cardboard underneath them.
yeah. But don't poke a hole through the cardboard. Just plant it in the potting soil. Because remember, your grass is right here. Can you see my camera?
Yeah.
The grass is here. You're putting the cardboard on top of the grass. And then you're going to take your plant and you're planting it into here. But it does, wait. Cardboard potting soil. Sorry, I forgot the potting soil.
Important.
Here, I have another prop. Potting soil. Plant into the potting soil, but don't go through the cardboard.
So how do you keep the potting soil from running off the cardboard?
Don't water it too much. Water it just enough.
But it's really windy.
Well, keep it
Okay.
wet.
Okay.
Keep
You
it
don't-
wetter, and then it won't blow away.
Okay.
If it's wet, it won't blow away.
So wet but not drowning.
Yeah. If it's too wet, then it runs off. The water will
Or
make
can
it.
can I do like layers of cardboard and then like a box?
If you do a box, a nice little raised bed box, then the slugs will live between the edge of the soil and the wood, the wooden
Is that
side
toilet
right here.
paper?
The slugs
toilet
will be right here where my fingers are. And at
Okay.
night they'll come out and they'll eat your plants. It's the perfect home for it.
Even if it's a cardboard box?
You mean a cardboard side?
Yeah.
No, it'll be ugly. It'll look like trash in your yard. You won't like it.
Like and the cardboard won't. Okay.
It'll just it's gonna get wet and it's gonna start to decompose and then it'll be ragged and then it's ugly looking.
Okay. Okay. How far away from my house should I plant my apple tree?
What kind of apple tree is it?
Honeycrisp.
Is it a dwarf, a semi-dwarf, a full-sized apple tree?
I don't know.
That's what you need to know,
Okay.
because that tells you how far away from your house to plant it. I'll make it easy for you. Plant it 20 feet from your house.
Oh, but that's in my neighbor's yard.
But you have a
Okay.
tiny yard, so
I do have a very tiny yard. Yep.
yeah, maybe you can't plant it that far away.
Okay.
Plant it anywhere. It doesn't matter. You can prune any kind of tree to be any size. You just always
Okay,
keep
so
it
just
small.
so just keep it so that it's small, so that the roots don't threaten the foundation.
Yeah, just
Okay.
6, 8, 10 feet away is probably okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay.
nice.
Okay.
Okay, so you probably just answered my question. So if our family's looking to extend our garden, but our garden is surrounded by lawn, would you use the cardboard method to extend the garden too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you remove the lawn first?
No, don't move the lawn. Walk out there on your grass, put the cardboard on it, and then put the potting soil on it and plant your plants, and you're done. Takes like 5 minutes. Actually, it doesn't.
So you put like 4 inches of
25 minutes to do an entire garden. We do this at every single boot camp. Aaron, sign up and come bring your kids to boot camp.
Okay.
Go on my website and figure it out, and then we'll do all this together. Then you got it.
Okay.
I have
So,
family discounts. Call
4
me.
inches of 4 inches of whatever thingy soil.
About 4 to 6 inches of potting soil.
Okay. Yeah. Are you sure you want 7 children in boot camp?
Maybe bring the older ones.
Okay. You're sure you don't want my 3-year-old? I mean, like, come on.
Well, it's fine, except you'd miss boot camp because then you'd be worried that they're making noise and then you'll be tending your kids the whole time.
No, they can take care of themselves.
Mom, one thing goes wrong.
Okay,
she's
I'll bring brown one.
crying.
She can take care of the baby.
No, I
Bring the
won't.
ones who can sit through a 3-hour class without getting
Okay.
too excited.
Okay. 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 4 to 6 inches of potting soil.
We
And
do
it's-
that. We built this garden during
Really?
boot camp, so you should come.
Yeah.
Go to my website and read about boot camp and see if it looks like it would be a fit for you.
And you don't do it virtually?
I've thought about doing an online boot camp, but I don't know how to make it work.
Yeah. You'd have to have it like a head camera or something.
I am creating an online course, though.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
Filling it.
it'll be done when I get it done. But
We
anyway.
definitely did them.
Okay, our time is up.
Yep.
Same link, same time next week. Good night, everyone, and thank you for being here.
Buenas noches.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Okay.